The Collective Whisper Podcast with Simon Kane. Hello everybody, I'd like to welcome Denise Brennan. Denise Brennan is a highly acclaimed, award-winning and sought-after singer and performer. She has been performing professionally at home and abroad throughout concert halls, opera houses and theatres since the age of 18. Denise has enjoyed international touring success, taking centre stage in hit shows such as Bill Whelan's Riverdance The Show, as a Celtic soprano soloist with the Dublin Philharmonic Orchestra, performing at the prestigious Bunratty Castle, Ireland's National Concert Hall, the Helix Dublin as a soloist with the Applause concert presented by Ames and Women of Ireland with Frankie Gavin and Edana. Denise Brennan has sang for the Irish Consulate and his guests at his family home while in New York City. She took to the stage at Croke Park and performed in front of an audience of thousands for the 2003 Special Olympics with Riverdance and an international TV audience of millions. Women of Ireland, in which Denise is a soloist, were nominated for the Best Newcomer Group Award at Ireland's Music Awards alongside the High Kings. Okay, welcome to the show, Denise. How are you?
How are you, Simon? Good to be here. Nice to chat with you today.
It's good. I came across your profile a few weeks ago and I thought, Denise sounds really interesting. I have to have her on the show.
And I thought to myself, what have I got to talk about?
Normally, when I'm looking for people who have had an interesting background and, an interesting life so far. And, people in the arts, in movies and all kinds of things. But once you've kind of done something and achieved something, I'm thinking, okay, I want to find out that story and see what it's all about, So, Denise, tell us, where are you living? Where do you live?
So I live in Arklow, County Wicklow, in Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah, and I grew up here, actually. So even though I've travelled all around the place, I always thought I'd move, but I always came back here. So here we are, yeah. We will probably move in the future at some stage, but yeah, we're happy here.
Yeah, brilliant. I have a sister living in Auckland, so it's not too far away from you.
Oh, do you? Ah, very good.
Yeah,
small world.
Because originally my father is originally from Carlow, from Tullow in County Carlow.
Oh, lovely.
So my sister has been living in Wicklow for I think about 4 or 5 years. But like the rest of my family are in Galway. I'm a Galway man.
You're a Galway man. Oh, I love Galway.
My mother's a Galway woman, so we moved back there years ago. So I would call Galway my home, even though I suppose, Tullow is kind of on the border of Wicklow and Carlow, so I'm kind of a Wicklow-Carlow man as well.
You pick and choose, depending on how you're feeling.
I always call myself a nomad because I've lived kind of in different places, and now I live in Madrid.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I've lived in many places, but yet I haven't. It's just because I've toured, that kind of way. But yeah. But you're very lucky because Galway is a stunning city and it's just buzzing, isn't it? It's full of energy. Such a good vibe, yeah.
But Galway is a great city culturally, as well. And, for music and the arts, it's great. Right now, I suppose, with the lockdown and COVID, it's a bit depressing. I see on Facebook some days they have pictures of the streets and they're, empty and there isn't the throngs of people. And I'm kind of going, wow, that's pretty sad looking, isn't it?
It really is. Even St. Patrick's Day here, we just saw 2 Garda cars with balloons and they had the sirens going. And I just said to my husband, John, I said, God, this is pretty sad, isn't it? In comparison to what we'd usually be doing on St. Patrick's Day and celebrating. But actually, we did have a good St. Patrick's Day. We watched Keith Barry's show. We took part in it, a virtual show online, so it was great fun, actually. So, yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Normally for you, around St. Patrick's Day, would you be gigging or doing concerts or, you'd be busy, I suppose, no?
Depending on where I am in life and what stage I'm at, usually, ideally, it's lovely when you're performing abroad for St. Patrick's Day, but I feel that was almost many moons ago. I now have 2 children, married, so I tend to not sing on St. Patrick's Day and just take part in the festivities really
Right. And, so you said there you're living in Arklow, and you grew up in Arklow as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so we just grew up on the outskirts of Arklow. It was nice. It was kind of near the town, but it was out in the country. So we had lots of fields and freedom growing up. It was lovely. And then we moved to Bray. It was about 4. And my mum and dad opened a newsagents there because my dad was actually working in Telecom in Dublin. So
Okay.
we thought we'd move to make the commute easier. And we just were, I don't know, I think my mum's a home bird. She grew up here. She's from Arklow. So we ended up moving back near the beach, which was equally as lovely. And had a lovely childhood too.
Is there many children in your family? Have you many brothers and sisters?
7 of us, would you believe? So I'm the youngest of 7 children, and I'm a twin as well. So I always tell my mum she saved the best to last. It was about 3 minutes.
Twin girl or twin boy? What do you have?
Twin boy.
Oh.
Yeah, and we are so different. Like, he's brown hair and blue eyes, and he's so different to me, but would be quite connected as well. And he was always into the arts, always into speech and drama and plays and that kind of thing. But he's actually a carer, and he's living in Tralee now. So, but we keep in contact a lot on the phone.
When you look back now, like early memories for you as a child, would it start more once you moved to Bray? Because obviously if you were 4 years old, you mightn't remember much before that. So was Bray kind of your main childhood kind of memories?
No, Bray was a little bit of a blur actually, because we only stayed there a year and a half. So I actually remember a lot of growing up on the beach road in Arklow. Even like my mum loved her garden, and she had loads of flowers and empty flower pots as well. I actually remember stirring up the soil as if I was making dinner. I remember my sister Caroline singing in the back garden in the sun, laying out a blanket, lying there and just singing. And one of the festival songs for Arklow Music Festival, Ladybird Song actually was called. And so some really, really lovely memories of that actually, yeah. And then when we moved back to Arklow, we moved opposite Pitch and Butt, and we used to play like cops and robbers in amongst the hills, the Pitch and Butt, because it was closed at that stage, and the wooded area, and we were just very imaginative and had lots of fun. Yeah, it was good. And like the Arklow Music Festival was huge. Like, people come from all over, so music and singing was a lot. Just very much in my growing up and my family and stuff like that. So that was something I used to work towards every year. Even though I was extremely nervous, actually, I was a very nervous singer and performer. The idea of getting up and singing in front of people scared me so much, but my love for it and my want and my need to get up there just made me do it anyway, But yeah.
Was music a big thing in the family even before, like with your parents? Were they very musical?
Yes, my dad is from Tullamore, and his family actually set up the St. Columkille's Pipe Band in 1910, would you believe? So they were the first to set that up in Tullamore, and yeah, all the brothers, not the sisters. I suppose it was the era, all the brothers took part in it. So Dad would have played the accordion. Remember playing the accordion a lot growing up, and the piano as well. And then my sisters would have taken singing lessons and piano lessons. I was sent for singing lessons, piano lessons, and all the so it was very much around me growing up. But the funny thing about it is, I remember listening to Don Williams, who's a country singer. I remember listening to Eminem, who's a rapper, and then all this musical theatre thrown in as well. Part of my dream was to sing in the West End stage. You know what I mean? I just whatever brought me joy. I just loved all these types of music. So it's interesting, when I look back, kind of quite a vast array of influences. even though I don't know if Eminem I would say is an influence, but I certainly enjoy his music.
Yeah, I can imagine you doing Eminem in the West End.
Yeah, it just wouldn't work. So I was always a bit askew in my direction, actually, as a singer.
In your family, were you in the middle or youngest or eldest? Where were you exactly, you and your twin?
Yeah, we were the youngest. So I'm the very youngest. And James, my twin, he was born 3 minutes ahead of me. So, yeah. I'd say they were delighted now when they brought me home and they were like, oh, okay, another kid to take away the attention, you know?
Yeah, but it's mad when you say I'm the youngest, but only by 3 minutes.
I know, it's like I still can't claim that. And I tried to, you know. Yeah. I still say to James, I'm actually the baby. I'm the baby.
You're still the baby, yeah. He feels like the baby, but you're the real baby.
I know.
Are both your parents still alive? Yeah?
They are, yeah. Thank God.
Right, that's good.
They're God, they're my rocks. They really are. And they're doing great, even the whole COVID pandemic thing. They're so close and they go for walks every day. They're amazing. They're extremely inspiring, you know, and they're very practical people. They live in the moment. And I suppose I'd be the creative one and the dreamer and all that. So my mom kind of, you know, she keeps me focused. She's great.
Yeah. And like for you guys and your family and seeing each other and everything with the lockdown, I suppose the same for everybody else. It's been pretty difficult, no?
Yeah, it has. Like, especially the first lockdown and going down around to the house and standing at the gate with my mask on. And like, I remember actually the first time, tears coming to my eyes, you know, and I was just kind of giving them hugs and blowing kisses and stuff and having a chat and all the rest. And then I suppose, fear was grasping everyone, wasn't it? And it was kind of like, I try and stay away from news and that kind of thing now, but we've relaxed a little bit, but we're still extremely safe. So, for example, I go into the back garden and Mum and Dad would come out to me. We keep our distance, you know, that kind of way. But because it's important, you have to have connectivity. You have to have that. I mean, it's fundamental for people.
It's like if you watch the movie, like I find it a bit surreal sometimes. It's like if you watch a movie and someone has leprosy or something where nobody can touch them because it's contagious. And you imagine in that in your family, if a child had leprosy or your husband or whoever, and you couldn't actually touch them or give them a hug. And if you watched that in a movie, you'd be thinking, oh my God, that would be a terrible life. But we're kind of living that now because grandparents are coming over, talking to their grandchildren through the window like they have leprosy or, you know, it's really, really crazy, isn't it?
It's so wrong. It's crazy. It's so wrong, really, you know, but it is what it is. I worry about people's mental health. And like, I have a 3-year-old little girl and a 10-year-old boy. And Peter can understand it. He understands what's going on, but Juliet doesn't. She's only 3. She's extremely clingy to us, even though she's very outgoing. She's quite nervous around other people because she hasn't had that experience. She hasn't had enough, enough kind of mingling and interacting with people outside of family. So I kind of worry about how this will affect, especially young kids, because this is the norm in which they're growing up. So how are they supposed to develop their social skills at a time where it's needed for them? So it's going into their subconscious. It's a natural, normal thing. I just worry that they're going to take a step back. So, for example, before the pandemic, I tried to send her to Montessori, and she was not having it. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll give her another year. It's too soon for her. Actually, it wasn't before the pandemic. It was just when it started, but the Montessori play schools were still open. And then it just wasn't going to happen. So I do worry about, her getting out and getting comfortable and starting Montessori. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to wait for another year. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I suppose that for kids now, they're growing up in a new age when social interaction will be much less than before. but maybe they won't notice it, but it definitely will have an effect on their, on their mental development and their overall development, because, they'll always feel limited. Oh, I can't, hug that person, or so it is going to be tough.
Yeah, imagine feeling it. Yeah, and it's in our humanity to want to touch, to want to hug. That should be a rite of passage. It's very strange. We didn't have to grow up in that, so only time will tell. But I'm just hopeful for Juliet, that I know she's so outgoing and she's so confident and she's so fun, that she will naturally gain that confidence with other people and that kind of thing. It will happen, but and then you've got the people, people who are disabled, disabilities, who need that interaction.
Yes.
Who need hugs. Do you know what I mean? Who need that.
I mean, yeah, with autistic children and everything, yes, it's going to be really difficult. And yeah, those are. So let's go back a little to you went to school in St. Mary's College in Arklow, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You tell us a bit about that, because I know that kind of was, you started your singing there and everything, and you had a good mentor, Sister Agnes, I think, wasn't it?
You've done your research.
Tell me a bit about that, and how she introduced you to singing and how you got the bug.
Yeah, so I had the bug way before secondary school. I used to just sit in my room, stand in my room and pretend I was performing on stage. Do you know what I mean?
The hairbrush.
The singing for me was, no, just, it was my happy, I just imagine, I know, sad, but that was my happy place, was very imaginative. And I took part in the local music society, I think in 5th class in primary school. I went to singing lessons for a year before I went to Sister Agnes then when I started secondary school, and she, was very much, you focus on your singing exams, focus on festival pieces for Arklow Music Festival, Feis Ceoil, and I would have done duets and that kind of thing, so that was a lot of fun. And obviously we took part in choir competitions every year, so that was great. But I was a very, very nervous singer and a very nervous performer, which baffles me really when I think about it, because I had such a love for it, so it just didn't really make sense. For example, the first year my mum put me in, my singing teacher put me in for a competition in the Arklow Music Festival. I got up and I started crying and my chin was wobbling. I think I was 11 and I couldn't finish the piece. Went down to my mom. The adjudicator said to me at the end, "Do you want to come back up and finish the piece?" And I said no.
Not today.
The next year, not today, Josephine. And then the next year, I got up and I did the same thing. And I was like, I'm going to sing this. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I got up and I did the same thing. But when he asked me to come back up to sing again, I did get through it. So that was good. And then the year after that, I sang through it. I was fine. No tears, no nothing. And I didn't win. I didn't get placed or anything. But you know what? I felt like I'd won, And then, so that kind of helped the confidence a little, which is brilliant. And the funny thing about it also, Simon, no one was pushing me to do these competitions. My mom would say to me, "You don't have to do them, you don't have to do them." It was always me, because I wanted to perform, I wanted to sing, I wanted it to feel like what I knew it could feel like, So, and then there was the musicals that went on in St. Mary's College, and a wonderful man was a teacher there, Ken Maroney, and was auditioning pupils from every year in school for the part of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. So he said to me, "You want to audition to these?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I think I did 3 auditions, and they whittled it down in numbers. And I got the part, which was amazing. And this was just like magic for me. And I remember during a rehearsal, he said, "Now, here's the stage. There's a ramp that's going to go around the orchestra pit. And I want you to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow on the ramp. Now, it's going to be very close to, it's going to be very close to the audience. you're not going to get too nervous, are you? You know, because he knew. And I said, no, I'm not. Yeah. And you know what? I was absolutely grand. I was so nervous before going on stage. But once I was on that stage, my God, I was in heaven. You know, I was at home and I absolutely loved it. And I kind of feel like that was the pivotal point in me, you know, turning over a new leaf in my confidence and that. So I feel like, I don't think he realizes it, but, you know, I feel like I owe him so much because he really, really helped me, you know, and it was so magical. So that was actually the best experience in my whole secondary school. In that whole time, you know.
Sometimes I suppose for people, whether it's playing the guitar on stage or piano or singing or any kind of performance, acting, you can have those
Yeah,
moments of, I mean, a lot of artists are very insecure, and they lack confidence, and
yeah,
then they turn it on for that performance, and people go, wow, I could never do that, they're amazing. But what they didn't see was that person back before saying, I need Xanax, I need something to calm me down, or I'm in tears. They don't see the
yeah,
preparation mentally even that goes into
yeah.
some of those performances, no?
No, they don't. And it's interesting because for me, I internalized it. I never I wasn't the one that, oh my God, I always internalized it. And I always felt the nerves, but people always looked to me as, what were why are you so nervous? Or you were absolutely grand up there, And then I turn around and even to this day, was it 2 years ago, 2, 3 years ago, I played, Kitty Kieran and Michael Collins in Wexford, Oyster Lane Theatre Group in Wexford. And I said to a woman after, was that okay? And she was like, yes, yeah, it was okay. Why are you asking? It's almost like people, but I think as performers, it's like art, it doesn't matter how much you practice it, whatever comes out on the day is always unique, isn't it? So you're right, we are a little insecure, you know?
Sometimes with artists, you can see that where they're off camera or off stage, they can be a little insecure.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think it's like if a boxer goes into the ring, if he has fear, sometimes it's the best thing for him because it makes him perform. So I think if we were too cocky and everything, yeah, you need that, like, to bring you down to earth and make you think, well, was it good, was I bad, was it, so I think there'll always be that level, because going on stage is something where you're performing and you're asking the people to like it, and you're kind of looking, you mightn't
Yeah.
necessarily want them to say, oh, well done, but you're looking for in their faces. You want to see that they like it.
Yeah, and I think the older I've gotten, you can just sense, you just know whether you've done a good job or not. And a good job is, I suppose, it depends what perspective you're coming from, your perspective or someone else's. But I think if you feel like you've done a good job, that's enough for me, because you do get a sense of the room, you get a sense of the people and the vibe. But I think, as human beings, like, we're human beings, we're not robots. For me, I want to be very, very sensitive, and I have to talk myself into doing some performances and stuff like that. More so when I was younger than now. Obviously, I've gained more confidence in my ability.
For you, like, obviously when you were a teenager and you were involved with the musicals and singing and everything, like, in regards to contemporary music, or what kind of music did you listen to, what bands or artists did influence you a lot?
Actually, I used to listen to Mary Black, Maura O'Connell, a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber. I used to listen to Celine Dion, Kate Bush, Garth Brooks, Tori Amos.
Okay, yeah.
A wide variety of people. I love Imelda May to this day, actually. She'd be someone now, I really love her. Yeah, there's a wide spectrum of people, of influences and that kind of thing. But it's interesting because I'll always love musical theatre, and I've always done it in an amateur capacity with some professional concerts thrown in there where I would have sang. But it's all the Irish stuff that I would have done professionally, that I suppose, been paid for. That is the put the bread and butter on the table, really. So all of my stuff working abroad would have been like the likes of seeing Caledonia, Isle of Hope, Mary of Dunlow, I Know My Love, The Water is Wide, A Song for Ireland, all those Danny Boys, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and do you know what? I absolutely love it, and I would love to put together an album of some Irish classics, actually, because that's something I haven't done yet, and I'd love that.
Going back there, just when you were saying, obviously, because with most of the musicals you've done them amateur productions, but obviously through you singing with Riverdance and the whole lot, did you get a chance to kind of go ever or think about going professional with musical theatre? I mean, like you said, maybe performing on the West End. Was that ever in the pipeline, or did you ever have any opportunities?
Gosh, I think I was a little scared, to be honest, because it would have meant that I would have to move to England, and getting on the plane for Riverdance was the first time I was on a plane. So I was also, I was I was 18, I think. Was I 18? Yeah. I was 18, and it was the first time I was on a plane, and I was going into a cast that had already been touring together for quite a long time. I was the youngest in the choir. It was at a time where, Darren Holden, Brian Dunphy, Anne Myler, Lisa Kelly from, who else? There was loads anyway, so it was kind of that time, all these amazing people, but they had their partners with them, and they were older than me, and I remember all the Irish dancers, they were all going out together with one another, so this was I was very green,
Yes.
And I was just hoping do a good job, and make a few friends along the way, which is totally what happened. I had such a beautiful time in Riverdance, and my best friends were the tap dancers actually from New York, and they became my family, and I toured Riverdance for a whole year. And I remember my agent saying, "Okay, Denise, you've been with them for a year, maybe think about doing something else, and you don't want to get labeled, the Irish kind of singer or whatever.
Yeah.
There's other opportunities out there for you." But actually, it's funny how things happen, because, well, I'll just tell you first that, while I was training with Sister Agnes in St. Mary's College, in third year, I actually went to train with Veronica Dunne then in Dublin, and Jenny Redden as repetiteur, so to train classically and in an opera style, and I soon realised that really wasn't for me, but it gave me good grounding and good technique. And then I remember a friend rang the house phone, and she said to me, I actually used to babysit her kids, and she said to me, "I'm with an agency in Dublin, Denise, and they're looking for a girl, and you fit the bill, and they're looking for people to audition for Riverdance." And I thought, amazing. So I rang the agency. It was the Hallie Williams agency, and I auditioned for them, interviewed and all the rest, and they signed me up. So then I went for an audition for Riverdance, and another audition, and another audition. It was a very long process. And then I was put on their list of people to call if someone leaves. Eventually someone left, but in that time, it was probably over the span of a year, actually, where I was kind of auditioning, and then I was on their waiting list. And then I was also training to get the Riverdance sound, because I was such a musical theatre singer, and I was training with Veronica Dunne in a classical style. It was really kind of just cleaning the line of the voice and getting rid of that belter kind of musical theatre big sound.
Yes.
Just simplifying it and getting back to my natural core sound. So I did a lot of work on that. And then this girl left, and I was asked to take her place. So a contract was signed for a year, and it was amazing. But it's incredible how things happen, only for the goodness of that woman, Margaret Kinney, actually.
What year was that?
I toured in 2000, I think it was.
The evolution of Riverdance, obviously, from the Eurovision, the very first time, obviously with Michael Flatley and Jean Butler, wasn't it? Or Jean Butler, yeah. And so from that, obviously, Riverdance went through different evolutions and different changes, and Michael Flatley left, and so when you went into Riverdance that time, who were the main stars of Riverdance, the dancers?
There was a few main dancers that actually changed around. Padraig Moyles, I know Padraig Moyles was one of them. And he's an incredible dancer, and he's still working for Riverdance to this day. Absolutely amazing.
It's such a big cast.
It was incredibly huge. And I remember standing side stage the first time on this big stage, age of 18. And I knew thousands were going to be in the audience that night. And I was just like, oh my God. And at the time, I thought to myself, I want to go onto that stage now and sing on my own from Les Miserables. I wanted to go in and go, just for that experience and stuff. But I was happy with where I was happy doing what I was doing. So I was basically one of the choir singers. And I'm trying to remember, there was 8 of us all together. And then I was auditioned and I was put on their list for someone to kind of come in if someone needed a break,
like an understudy type of thing.
Exactly. I was trying to think of the word. Foggy brain today. And so I did that then. I sang in Boston solo, and that was an incredible experience. Bill Phelan was there and the producers, and that was amazing. So yeah, I loved that. And I have to say, I never got panicky in Riverdance. I never had one moment where I didn't believe in myself or anything. It was just a beautiful experience, but it's also credit to how comfortable I felt and how supported I felt by everyone around me. Everyone was a team, and every tour I've done since has felt like that, generally, bar 1 or 2 incidences, but it's really down to the people you're around and making sure you feel safe and happy, and because everyone contributes, to a vibe and an energy and how a show is put together. So I feel like I've been very lucky. Actually, yeah.
I'll come back to Riverdance in a minute, but just going back to your training there, you said when you were in the Irish Academy of Music.
Yeah.
So at that stage, when you were doing those, were you in your head thinking, okay, I don't know if I want to be a classical singer. I think I'm more of a Celtic soprano, or were you deliberating who you were going to be and what type of voice?
I think I'm still deliberating that.
Okay.
No, do you know what? I always just wanted to better myself, and it was never from a competitive point of view with anyone else other than with me, and that's one thing I've learned as well, and that takes a lot of anxiety away. Actually, I'm so more relaxed now, and I feel like if I could go back years ago and have the same approach that I have now, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But yeah, I just always wanted to better myself as a singer. So if that meant that I was going to work with Ronan Tynan, or I was going to work with Morgan Crowley or Veronica Dunne or whoever, I just wanted to take tips that would help me as a singer. So better my support, better my breathing, but also to become a vocal coach and teach singing. And in order to do that, you have to have a huge understanding of the instrument and how it works. And and the different voice types and stuff. So I was just kind of a sponge and just taking everything in as much as I could. But ultimately, I just wanted to sing and just be my very best. I'm still working on that.
For you, when you were training and in the Royal Academy and everything, was it something that during that process that they kind of earmark you for certain work or agencies or whatever? How do you go from the Academy of Music into something that you can turn into a career? Do they have work experience type things, or how does that work?
No, so I actually was just in the academy for a short while. I actually didn't stay there. So I actually started, I'll just go back a bit. After school, I started in DIT. I started DIT to do music, and that's where I met my husband. And yeah, John Hughes, and we actually were in choir together, but we never introduced ourselves. And eventually we got talking, and that's where I met John. And then I was on the waiting list for Riverdance, and then I got to go off for the year. And then I came back, and I remember I walked up the steps of DIT, and he just looked at me and I looked at him, and we just got chatting. He followed me down to the canteen, and he just never left my side. There was no shaking him off. There was no shaking him off.
He was probably regretting the first time letting you go.
Yeah.
So he said, next time,
Yeah,
don't
he's
worry.
like, I never saw him in the choir class after, for a whole year. But the course wasn't for me. I didn't want to focus on like composition and composing music and sonatas and all the rest of it. I just wanted to sing and be my authentic self and perform. So I left there, and I trained. I continued training. I continued working with through my diplomas with the London College of Music, the Irish Voice, Speech and Drama, and the Guildford School of Acting as well, where I got my licentiate in musical theatre. And then I went to Bunratty, and I performed in Bunratty. And I did a short stint in the Royal Irish as well. I feel like I've been all over the place. But for me, when the opportunities to perform came along, I had to take them, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to perform, so.
Yes, and I see. Obviously, you did beauty therapy, but was that later? You studied that later on.
I think I'd done Bunratty, and then I actually was working in pharmacy while teaching in theatre schools. So I was teaching in theatre schools in Avoca and Arklow and Gorey, and I worked in a pharmacy. And what else? I'm trying to think. There's so much. Yeah, and then I decided I wanted to be a beauty therapist. My two sisters were beauty therapists. I was always into all that. So I became a qualified beauty therapist. I worked at it for a year, and I'm like, where's the performance? Where is this hair? I had the bug, and I just wanted to get back to it,
Yes.
And also the classes, like the demand for singing classes was huge.
Okay.
And because it was more in alignment with what I really wanted to do and I was passionate about, I went with it, So I was teaching full time then, and I was working with Music Generation in County Laois as well, where I taught in Port Laois, Metmelech and Metrath. And I loved that. I loved working with the kids, and because I would have, I suppose, been challenged with I suppose getting up on stage and getting rid of all those nerves and stuff like that. I never wanted anyone else to feel that way. So I was always very kind of an empathic kind of teacher, very compassionate, and very much, you can do this, you've got this. Just very much believed in my students and really instilled that sense of confidence in them. So yeah, that was kind of a driving force for me as well. So, and I love performance, so I just loved getting the best out of people as well. And I'm still teaching to this day, actually. And when work comes up, it comes up. But in between all that, then I would have sang in the Special Olympics when Ireland was hosting Special Olympics in Croke Park.
That was 2003, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that would have been, actually, my timelines are all over the place, but yeah. So I would have come back and sang for them there. Yeah, it's hard. It's like, really going back in your life. It's like, no, I don't want to think about that.
I have notes, like for my research, I have notes of years and stuff. And sometimes I'm saying to people, oh yeah, and you brought that album out in 1999, and they're like, was it 99? And I'm like, I think so, I have it here. And they're like, yeah, it was. So
it was lovely to get back to Riverdance and see all the girls again. feeling the vibe of the music. I remember being in Riverdance, walking at the back and hearing the tap dancing going on. It was just incredible. So that was that. So it's nice little stints here and there of things in between teaching, you know. And then I said I want to record an album. And what I did was I just worked incredibly hard, and I got a loan from the credit union of 10,000.
Good old credit union.
10,000 euro. When you think about the people that are making, when you think about how people can make albums now, which is absolutely amazing, like just at home, you know. And here's me going for a loan with a credit union for 10,000 euro.
The funny thing is that it's like, you know, when people go into the credit union and they're afraid to say what the loan is for. Like, for example, someone says, "Oh, I want to go on holiday," and the credit union goes, "And what's the loan for?" And you go, "It's a car. I need a car."
Yes.
And
yes. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah. So yeah.
The truth is that from these kind of, even though the credit union are great because they give loans for lots of things, but sometimes, you know, when people look at musicians and recording albums, they could be like, "You're going to spend 10 grand recording an album. That's a waste of money. You could get a deposit on a small flat or something." And the point is that it costs money to record albums, and it costs money for studio time. But unfortunately, the banks and credit unions kind of don't think like that. They're like, "You want a loan for what?" You know?
And I went off to Galway to work with Eugene Kelly and Mark Roberts. And I used to do that.
Oh, yes, Eugene Kelly.
Yeah, loved that man. Oh, we laughed so much. And his beautiful wife, Cindy, absolutely gorgeous people, like the salt of the earth. So Eugene and Mark Roberts produced and recorded my album. And they were just so lovely. It was such a lovely experience, you know. And Eugene actually even said to me, "Denise, I wrote a song for you for the album."
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, which was really special. And it's called Ever and Ever. And it's actually never been played on radio or anything like that. But it's so beautiful. It's on my album, Sailing with the Wind, on Spotify, Apple Music, with Ever and Ever, Eugene Kelly. And actually, again, it's sometimes your career is in the hands of the goodness of people, because Eugene was so kind and so generous to hand that album to Carl Hession, who then handed it to the producer of Women of Ireland. I didn't know he was doing this. Like, how good is that? He just did it.
Wow.
You know, there was no ego attached, and that's what we're talking about, ego in people. You know, in the industry, no ego here at all. He just did it, and I remember driving over and driving over to my mum's and parked outside, and I got a call from Eric Cunningham, and he said, "Denise, I got your album. I'd like to meet up with you." So I auditioned and kind of informal interview, just, you know, meet up and chat about what I've done. And next thing I know, I'm recording an album for Women of Ireland and going on tour in America.
Can I ask you, with that, I remember going to one of Eric Cunningham's shows in Galway once in the Black Box Theatre. I don't know, did Women of Ireland run in the Black Box as well? Do you remember?
No, never.
No.
My first work with Women of Ireland was in America. So we toured America for 10 weeks. And it was with Frankie Gavin and Dannon as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, Michelle Lally was part of Women of Ireland, and Ingrid Manson as well. Two gorgeous women. And yeah, I was just very lucky to get in with Michelle and Ingrid, because they're two beautiful people.
Michelle's an amazing singer. Yeah.
She is. And she sings from her heart, and she's very authentic, actually. You know, she's very much herself. And as to Ingrid. So yeah, that was an incredible experience. And then not only that, but we did a tour with the Dublin Philharmonic Orchestra. And the Dublin Philharmonic Orchestra then asked me to do extra songs with them. And I'd never sang with an orchestra before in my life. And that just blew me away. That was amazing. So I got to work with Derek Gleeson and Colin and Pierce as well, two conductors, and just fabulous musicians. So, like, isn't it amazing? If I hadn't recorded that album and got that credit union loan,
Yes, yeah.
it paid off, right? Like the 10,000 paid off.
I mean, for you, it was a huge investment, but it had a great return.
It had a huge return, yeah. And you know what? I suppose it depends what you put value on in life. And for me, I just always wanted to make people happy and to bring some joy and just to feel the magic. And I think if you are joyful and you're loving what you do on stage, people are going to enjoy it too. They're going to feel it, you know.
You know, with any of those kind of things, with music, sometimes, you know, you have to work your ass off and you have to put money into it and time. And, you know, you mightn't get a return for a long time, but then hopefully one day that opportunity will knock on the door, or someone will listen to your album or hear your song. And it doesn't work for everybody. I mean, lots of people do amazing work, but unfortunately they don't get discovered. And, you know, the great thing is when somebody does get discovered that has talent and can go a long way, it's great to see all the work they've put in is finally paying off.
Like, I think that that's what it is. I think if I had sat and waited for someone to just come and discover me, it would never have happened. You know, every step up to those points, up to even Riverdance, you know, and me going to singing lessons, performing, and taking every opportunity. Not only was I staying on that path, but I was perfecting what I was doing. You know, I'm a different singer now to what I was back then. But you know, I've learned so much along the way, and every step is so important. But yeah, it does take work and determination, and not to give up. And I could have given up so many times, you know, because it's hard. It's not easy, and
no,
there's been so many people in the industry that can and could help you that choose not to, you know, and that's why those two people, like that wonderful woman Margaret Kinney, for ringing me and telling me about this agency, and for the beautiful soul that is Eugene Kelly, for just simply passing on my album, like, was huge for me, huge. And it was just a phone call for them, you know, for Margaret, and it was just a handing over CD for Eugene, but it had such a huge impact on my life. So I'll be forever grateful.
That's a really interesting point you make there. And I kind of, you know, I always think of that, is that there are so many people in the music industry and acting industry and everything that could help other people. But the point is that unfortunately people can be a little selfish and their own ego gets in the way, because I don't mean it's like jealousy or anything, but sometimes people are like, well, what's in it for me? You know, or do I get something from it? And what do I get in return? And sometimes you have to put that aside and you have to say, well, look, maybe right now I'm not shining in the spotlight, but there's no reason why this person I'm working with can't. So I'm going to pass on their work. And unfortunately, maybe more, you know, people who have a good network and have maybe kind of a bit of influence could recommend other artists and get more artists work and everything. But it doesn't happen as much as it could, doesn't it? I think that's true.
It really doesn't. And when you think about it, you know, those two people that I mentioned, you know, they weren't singers. You know, there's so many singers that I know, and I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, Denise, you know, you'd be amazing singing this with me, or you'd be amazing in that show. I'm gonna pass you on the details." Or you wouldn't hear anything from them, and it's all spoofing, you know. And I'd nearly prefer not to be told anything. Do you get me?
Yes.
Because you put so much hope on it, and then you get so disappointed. Because when you're the person that would actually be the cheerleader for other people, and you would actually give someone else, you know, a help or support, you can kind of be a little bit sensitive when someone else says they will and then they don't, you know.
Yeah, well, even the thing is, I can tell you, Denise, and I don't mind saying this, that even when I started this podcast, like not even 6 months ago, you know, I'd send messages to people like potential guests. And the truth is, if you're not known, it's very hard. It's like people can just ignore you, you know. So I have sent messages, you know, to some people on Facebook who I would have already added them as a friend, and I would say, hey, would you like to come on the show? And I think people would like to hear your story, and I'd never hear from them. But then after a few months, when I had other guests, and your guests are like more higher profile or whatever, sometimes those people can send you back a message and say, oh, sorry, I never saw the message or whatever. And I don't like that. I mean, because it's not like somebody said to me one day, unfortunately, some people will only work with you depending on who you have worked with or the names that are on your CV roll or whatever, and that's a shame. It's a shame, isn't it, I think?
Yeah, it really, really is. People definitely don't give others the benefit of the doubt. I think we definitely need to be more open. But like I think when you had approached me about it, I just from someone else's perspective, I was actually nervous about talking about myself.
Yes.
Because I was, and it didn't take me so long to get back to you. I don't think.
No, you got back very quickly.
I think that was pretty good. But I was like nervous, and I said to my twin brother, I said, James, oh God, I have to talk about myself and kind of what I've done. I don't really like talking about myself. He turned around and somebody stopped me. You love talking about yourself. Oh, it's so funny.
The thing is, it's when like I try and do this podcast very naturally, so it's more like a chat.
Yeah,
and the thing is, once people can relax a little, the idea is then they talk. And even if some people might say, well, sure, what have I to talk about? And then an hour and a half later you go, well, you had a little to talk about, so
I know, but it just goes to show that's what lockdown has done as well.
Tell us about obviously the time you recorded the Christy Hennessy song, and and you sang with him as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So my sister actually worked in RTE. She was a producer in RTE for a couple of the afternoon shows, Show and stuff like that. And she's actually in a completely different career now. She's an English teacher.
Okay.
But yeah, so she would have met Daniel O'Donnell and Christy Hennessy. And so she actually put Christy Hennessy in contact with me. And we used to call each other randomly on the phone. He used to ring and ask me how my songwriting was going. I'd read him some lyrics over the phone. I'd sort of sing him a song over the phone. I remember he sent me a tape of a melody. Yeah, he sent me a cassette tape at the time, of a melody that he had written, right? He just sang it because he didn't write. So he just sang it. And he said to me, Denise, put lyrics to this. So I was like, God, I can't do that. And honestly, these are some of the things I kind of cringe at. Why didn't I do that? Now I'm like,
right,
what were you thinking? So I didn't actually do anything with it. And it's so surprising to me now. But look, you live and you learn. I was young. I was worrying about be good enough. This is Christy Hennessy. Like, what if I write something and it's not good enough and he's not going to like it? And so I shied away from it a little bit. But look, we still kept in contact. I went to see him in the Helix, and he said to me, I called you up from the audience, and I said, I didn't hear my name. He said, if there's a singer in there who wants to come up and sing this duet with me, come up now. And I'm like, oh no, I was sitting in the balcony. I couldn't
Yeah.
So because and I was also very, 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 shy. But we went to the green room after his birthday, and I met his wife Jill. And we just sat around and had 7-Ups together and a chat and a sing along, and it was just so lovely. But he was such a gorgeous soul. And then I was teaching in the theatre schools, and I saw that he was down in the Riverside Park Hotel performing. And I remember teaching in Avoca, and I was teaching 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And as soon as that, I remember I was still in my runners and I don't know how I looked, but I literally ran. So got in the car, went to pick my mum up in Arklow, and we raced down to Enniscorthy. And we were late for the gig, but that's okay. We went in, and he was up on stage singing, and he said, "If there's anyone in the audience who wants to come up and sing this song with me, if you were to
Again.
fall, yeah, come up." So I'm like, will I do it, Mom? Will I do it? Just like, it up to me. So up I went anyway, and there was a stool beside him.
Can I ask you, when he said that, if there's anyone, did anybody else get up as well?
No one actually, can you imagine? I'd be racing them to it.
Yeah.
No one actually did. Thankfully, they didn't. No, I'd be very gracious if I let them on. But so I sat in the stool that was beside him, to the left of him, and he just turned to me and he said, "Denise," So he was so surprised to see me, and I was just like, "Hi." And the producer handed me the lyrics for it, and we sang "If You Were to Fall." And did I get a recording of that? No.
Oh, no.
Yeah. One of my cousins from Wexford was actually in the audience, and she was so surprised. I don't think she'd actually ever heard me sing, in real life, but probably heard my mammy say, "Denise is singing here, Denise is singing there." You know how mammies go on. But yeah, that was an incredible night, and you know what? It was.
Maybe somebody out there has a recording. You never know.
Well, if anyone is listening to this and they have a recording, let us know.
Yeah. It would be crazy, wouldn't it? It would be crazy if there was a recording on somebody's phone or something.
That would be amazing. But I went back anyway. He was signing albums after in the corridor, and I was lining up with everyone else. And he came to me anyway. He said, "Denise, what are you doing lining up with everyone else? You shouldn't be lining up. Come over here." And he was just such a gentleman. One of the people working with him on that concert said he had to open the door because he thought it was his daughter singing. And with them, so that was a huge.
What was his daughter's name again? Oh, what she the unusual name? The daughter. Hermione. That's it.
Gorgeous! Oh my God, she's a stunning singer. So beautiful. Yeah, I love her.
Does she sing anymore now? You don't really hear of her much. Is she still singing?
I'd imagine she is. Yeah. To some capacity, like everyone else. But yeah, I'd imagine she is. Yeah, so that was lovely. And then that was actually before I recorded my album Sailing with the Wind with Mark and Eugene. Because when I was going down when I was going over to Galway to Salt Hill, Barna is just outside Salt Hill, so that's where I would have recorded it in Eugene's studio. But I would have rang him and told him about it, and I asked him, could I record If You Were to Fall on my album? He said, yes, absolutely, and I'll sing it with you. And I said, oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Wow.
He said, yeah, you record your vocal, and when it's done, you send it to me. So after weeks of this, he eventually got on the phone to me and he said, Denise, I'm so sorry. My manager has sat me down in a coffee shop outside over a cup of coffee and showed me my contract. And I'm not allowed to sing this song with you. I said, I'm so sorry. So that was just an example of not being a name. Do you know what I mean? If I was a name, it wouldn't have been an issue.
That's a shame, isn't it?
It is, but I knew his heart was in the right place, and the fact that he even just took an interest in me and my album, and he listened to it. I sent him a copy after it was done. It was lovely, and I remember being on the Lewis in Dublin actually, and he said to me, "If you wrote the words," and I said to him back, "and you wrote the melody," because that's one of his lyrics in his songs.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh. Anyway, wow. I was in love with the man. I absolutely love him. So when he passed away, I actually cried my eyes out.
Well, I mean, it was great that he came into your life and that way he did, and that you had the pleasure of meeting him, because having seen him and heard his music, he was a very nice guy and very inspirational for a lot of people. So, you had a great experience.
Yeah, very spiritual as well. Yeah, spiritual man as well. Just getting back to, how people won't work with you unless you have a certain name. I'm not that Christy was. Christy wanted to. It was his management that couldn't because of contract. But there was one guy who I actually contacted on Facebook. He was doing loads of duets with loads of different amazing musicians and singers. And I said to him, I'd love to do a song with you, duet with you at some stage. If you have me and you're interested, And you know what he actually said to me? He said, "No, I only work with people who have a high percentage of likes on their music
Oh
pages."
God.
I'm like, "Oh my God." And you'd be surprised if I told you who this person was as well, which I won't. But I was just,
I could guess, but I won't.
no, no, no,
No.
no. Because you know what? When you know better, you do better. And I suppose that's his thinking. He's trying to be at a certain level, a level that he thinks is working. But I think it's such a beautiful thing if you can help others and you can showcase talent.
Yeah.
I do believe that when you do good, good comes back as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get that because like I recently I asked this guy in America, I won't say what field he's in, but he's in a certain area, and he was kind of well known. And I asked him about coming on the podcast, and he said to me, "Oh, unless you're like Joe Rogan," or he said, "I'd have to charge you." And I was like, "Well, I don't have that kind of budget." So I mean, the problem is that nowadays through social media and the whole thing of likes and everything, people are putting a price on their own popularity, and they're thinking, "Oh, well, that person's too small for me and that won't help my career." And they're not looking at it from the point of view as that, wow, I could go on that show and have a really great chat and enjoy it. They're looking at it from the point, what will I gain from it? How will it make me more famous? And it's a hard thing to deal with, but unfortunately in this modern day society of social media, it's everywhere now.
Oh God, absolutely everywhere. And social media is a hard place to be right now as well, I think.
Yeah.
And it's saturated with so much talent that I think people are even more competitive than what they used to be, and they're not as quick to support.
The one thing I will say though is that I think the one thing about social media is that there's a lot of people with real talent, and they're being left behind because especially with the world of influencers, there's a lot of people with no talent, but they do something funny, or they're, something that gets a lot of likes or a viral sensation. And because all those social influencers are competing with the singers and the actors and everything now, it's totally saturated. So it's very hard for a singer to get people to watch their video or something. It's really difficult.
Yeah, it's almost like the classroom scenario. Think of this classroom scenario: all the popular girls and boys, and even though you're really talented and it's innate, it's within you, you kind of step back a little bit and you shy away. And we have to learn to put ourselves out. I've used this word a few times now, but authentically, and it's hard to do that. It's hard to bear yourself on social media. Like it's hard to put up a video. Say if you're used to sing like me, you're used to just getting up and singing and performing, but actually talking and chatting is a whole different thing. And when it comes to the other people seeing, it's not just say me having a conversation with you, it's whoever views it as well. So it's like you have to build confidence with that as well. And even on social media, if you do a live, say, on social media, it's a little scary, but you have to go with it, you have to move with it and build your confidence with it, because otherwise you're just going to get left behind. But there's so much happening right now that it's so easy to put off.
Unfortunately, as well, what's happening obviously with Facebook and stuff, and people have talked to me about this, is that one time, you kind of knew if you put up a video or some kind of performance, people would comment on it. But now, like, people are just liking and reacting. So you're not really getting anything because people are being a bit lazy. They're just like, oh, like. And I think sometimes people just do it because they know you, or they've heard of you or something.
Yes.
And it would be great sometimes if people went, I really enjoyed that performance of that song or that show or whatever. And rather, because you don't, from the reactions and the likes, it doesn't really tell you anything. It's kind of a lazy way of, like a lazy voting.
I know it's hard to know, like, okay, yeah, when you break it down, or all these people that are commenting, they're people I've worked with in the past, which is lovely because it makes you feel like you're liked, and you're loved, and people are still want to see you succeed and do well. So that's always really nice. That is important, right? And I very much value that. But it's also really good to hear from people that you've never heard for, that you haven't influenced or been around, because then it's because they just genuinely like the music. You know what I mean? As opposed to anything else. But I think for me, actually, the music page on Facebook has been brilliant for that. Because when if you posted a video and you want to promote it, it can get to so many people that you don't know, and these people that you don't know don't have to comment on it. So when you get those comments, it does actually give you a bit of a confidence boost. But social media, it's you just, I don't know.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
It's difficult one, and then people like see this. What do you think of the stories on social media? You know, you can view someone's stories. So
Yeah.
people are viewing your stories. So it's almost like you've loads of observers. You know, it's
Yes.
okay to be nosy, basically. You know, but not contribute. So you don't have to press that like button. You know.
Yeah. It's a mixed bag, really. I think social media now, because the whole dopamine thing where we're getting a hit from this adrenaline thing of people liking you, and people are getting fixated on being liked and being loved. But the problem is now, I mean, there's a lot of love on social media, there's a lot of hate, and there's a lot of mixed up kind of comments and everything, and you kind of don't know what's genuine sometimes. So it's very fake in some ways, and in other ways it's great. But yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes everybody goes through this period, especially when you're trying to promote something, where you do it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you're like, I don't want to be on Facebook again, or I'm sick of it, or
I think we've all been through that for sure. It's hard when you see the fakeness there. And I remember I went through a stage of, I do not want to be on this anymore. It's not serving me. It's not making me feel good about myself. Because you see the fake, the falseness, you see the observers, but there's no contribution, there's no likes or how are you or anything, and you just feel like you're hanging your laundry out to dry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For all the neighbours to see, but you don't get any feedback, and so I think I certainly felt a little bit vulnerable in the past, because you don't know where you're standing when people are just seeing things but not interacting with you. You don't know how it's really going down. And then there's the competitive side of things where other singers in the industry are popping in and checking in on you as well. And you know that these people are competitive with you and have been competitive with you and do not have your best interests at heart.
No, you're right.
So some of them don't, but there's a lot of them that do, right? Absolutely. But yeah, it's a mixed bag, social media. I do love it. I do appreciate it. I think it has certainly helped a lot of people get their material out there. It has connected a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that I love, and that's why I haven't left it, because there's so many people that I love that are on it and that genuinely are just gorgeous and do add, value to my life in some way, even if it's just a comment or whatever. It's a positive thing, it's genuine, so that kind of has kept me in.
Yeah, well, I always have this kind of motto, even though I always think if you don't have anything good to say as on Facebook or anything, don't say anything. Because, I've often looked at a video and thought, that's ridiculous. But you could type something, but then you're falling into that trap, So unless you have something good to say, I think don't say anything, because we don't need negative comments. And the negative comments aren't helping anything. I mean, of course, you don't want to write down comments that are fake. But the thing is, unless you have something genuine to say that's real and positive, don't say anything. Like, you don't need to comment. If you want to comment and say, good job, well done, I really loved it, brilliant. But if you want to say something bad, just refrain. Don't do it.
Yeah, and those people that do comment negative comments on posts and stuff like that, that's just a testament to where they're at in life and their perception of life and where they're coming from. Like, it's nothing to do with the person they're actually judging.
No,
everything to do with them. And these people who have such great ideas and opinions of everything aren't always correct. They're not always educated, and it may be true for them. It may be their truth, because that's where their perspective of where they're coming from, but it's not actually how it is. And if that's the case and it's not positive, yeah, I agree with you. Just like, drop the comment, don't comment at all. And and very I'm very much like that. Like, I just don't comment. If something doesn't resonate with me and I don't particularly enjoy it, I'm not going to involve. I just won't comment. I won't say anything. Other than that, I'll be doing the little parts and
It's only bringing yourself down.
Yeah, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Isn't that it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So listen, what's for you for the next year or so? What kind of plans do you have? Are you going to record new music, or are you going to do virtual shows, or what kind of plans do you have?
So I feel like I'm in a learning process at the moment. Like, I have this time to just work on myself as a singer. I would say to become a musician, because I'm not really a musician. And it's more of a case of having to, because I used to get to work with amazing musicians, and obviously now I can't. So but it's good for me, just simple accompaniment and stuff like that, just to get my repertoire up, I suppose. I've done some great collaborations with Jim Sheridan, actually, Camber Quartet. The Late Late Show.
Yes.
It feels a gold collaboration with him during lockdown, and with Mark Cahill of the Ivory Sessions. So I recorded Something Inside So Strong with him, and that was amazing. I love that. And so he's actually going to be releasing an album of, I think, certain volumes with various artists that he's recorded with, and he has told me it's going to be out, I think, maybe in summer. I'm not sure. So I'm looking forward to that. And I just want to, in the future, I would say, get working on an album. Another album would be lovely.
That would be great.
And just taking any opportunity that comes my way, because it's for the enjoyment of it. But obviously, my children take up a huge amount of my time and attention. But I'm also incredibly lucky to be married to a very supportive man. He's like, I couldn't have done what I've done without him. He's been absolutely amazing. So, and thankfully, they've been short stints. Like, when we got married, we got married, and then a few months later, I went off on a 10-week tour, you know what I mean? But it was grand. He came out and he visited, and we did great things. He's been super. The other tours I've been on have been like 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, that kind of thing. And so I couldn't have done it without the support of my family. So I know that that's there for me in the future. And who knows? I'll just keep singing. Isn't that it? Keep singing and keep dreaming. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's it. You have to stay positive anyway. Yeah. And as you said, when you have a family and every year you get older, sometimes the chances can become less, So, but you just have to keep working away and, record your music and do your thing. And just eventually, things will happen, because, hard work, is necessary. Good things don't come easily. You have to work hard.
No. Oh my God. First of all, you need intention. Without intention, you've got nothing, because you've no direction. You need intention, so you know where you want to end up. And, even the Wright brothers, when they were, what did they do? The airplanes or something, wasn't it?
The airplanes, yeah.
I mean, that stemmed from an idea. Do you know what I mean? Without that idea, everything we see in this life has come from someone's brain, someone's idea, and someone's intention. So once we, and it's leaving the how, just believing and knowing that, it will all work out. But, as I said, I'm older now than I was back then. I'm not as ambitious as I was, but I'm certainly a dreamer, and I'm certainly just come alive and light up inside when I'm on stage. So I want that for me again. And I'm certainly happy with my 2 beautiful children on a Friday night, on the couch, cooking dinner together. You know what I mean? Like, that's gorgeous too. So, I mean, once I can just dip in and out of it, I'm perfectly happy. And I'm also teaching online now as well. I'm teaching singing lessons online. So that's keeping me going. And we don't know where this lockdown is headed. We don't know how long we're in it for now. But I would imagine another year. I don't know. Who knows? But I suppose I'm prepared.
That's great, Denise, and listen, you're going to sing a song out in a minute, but we want to say thank you very much for coming on the show. I mean, it's been a pleasure, and it's been really interesting and insightful to hear about your life with Riverdance.
My ramblings.
Yeah, but everything. I mean, with your singing, it's been great. And
Oh, thank
once
you.
again, thanks a lot. And we wish you the best for this
Thank
year. And
you
we
so
hope,
much.
obviously, that things, happen again for you, and the lockdown goes, and everything works out well. So, what song are you going to sing us out with?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much, Simon, for having me. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this chat, and I hope I didn't talk your ears off.
No, 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 no. You're fine.
That's what lockdown does. That's what lockdown does.
That's what lockdown does.
So I'm going to sing you out with a beautiful song called "I Love Hope." So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, thanks again, Denise, and we hope to hear from you again soon in the future. And enjoy your weekend and everything, and take care.
I will. Thank you. You too.
Denise Brennan, everybody.
On the first day of January 1892, they opened Ellis Island and they let the people through. And the first to cross the threshold of that Isle of Hope and Tears was Annie Moore from Ireland, who was all of 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears, but it's not the isle you've left behind. That Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again, but the Isle of home is always on your mind. In a little bag she carried all her past and history, and her dreams for the future in the land of liberty. And courage is the passport when your old world disappears, but there's no future in the past when you're 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears, but it's not the isle you've left behind. That Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again, but the Isle of home is always on your mind. When they closed down Ellis Island in 1943, 17 million people had come there for sanctuary. And in springtime when I came here and I stepped onto its piers, I thought of how it must have been when you're 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears, but it's not the isle you've left behind.
Okay, thank you very much, Denise Brennan. That was a very interesting interview, and we loved hearing your stories about Riverdance and your professional career so far, and all about your family and everything. Thank you very much for all of that. Okay, moving on to next week's guest. So next week we have actor, writer, and director Baz Black. He is currently playing Ged Delaney in the forthcoming TV series Kin, which will be on Irish TV soon. His acting credits include Into the Badlands, The Dublin Murders, Dredges, and The Zenith Protocol. He is owner of the award-winning production company Sherlock Productions, and he has appeared on many talk shows promoting body positivity and anti-discrimination: The Nolan Show, Katie Hopkins, The Tommy Tiernan Show, Ryan Tubridy, The Claire Byrne Show, Ireland AM, Nicky Byrne, and so much more. He is also the author of the best-selling book Ink Princess, and a drummer for Amongst the Wolves and the Prodigy Sons. And he is currently in pre-production for a debut feature film, Dublin Crust. Okay, so that will be a really interesting chat, and we look forward to that. And we hope you join us, and we hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. So everybody, take care of yourself, look after everybody else, and have a beautiful day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.